Hi, welcome back to Pro Shop and to this EH Ute build. In the last video we took this car from the paddock and gave it a new body. It was stripped down to a bare shell and washed, the old floor and chassis were removed, then a new one welded in, and all while keeping one thing in mind, preserving the patina. In this video we'll be fitting the new driveline, cleaning up the old parts that can still be used, figure out what new parts to buy, and start fitting everything to make this car go. Before the motor could be fitted, the firewall was smoothed from all unwanted holes and bumps. The motor, gearbox and diff was fitted in another EH which had too much rust to be used, so it was transplanted into this ute. Once I had the motor and gearbox in the car and where I wanted it, I started working on the steering. The crossmember was fitted with a manual rack, so instead of switching it over to hydraulic, I decided to fit an electric power assisted column to it. I incorporated a wheelwood pedal box together with an accelerator pedal from a Holden Commodore, and then mounted a column from a Nissan Cube all together in one bolt-in unit. The old fuel tank was too small, so I quickly fabricated up a new alloy one. One of the big jobs of this build was sorting out the parts that could still be used, so I could then figure out what new ones to buy. After a wash, I could see just how good this car was. It was complete, and while some parts need repair, most things like the handles just need some lube and they were ready to bolt back on. The headlight buckets needed a few rust repairs, so I shaped a piece of steel on the air hammer, then welded it into position, and after a quick sand and paint, they were finished. The rust that covered inside of most of the surfaces was wire brushed and then sealed with paint. As the new parts started showing up, I could go about fitting them. New rubbers and seals on the windows and doors along with a hinge kit, and they were ready to go back on. Inside the car we added bucket seats with retractable seatbelts and a vintage air AC unit tucked under the dash. In the engine bay, a larger alternator was fitted along with the washer bottle. A few notches in the frame rail were needed to fit the larger alloy radiator. The air conditioning condenser and fans mount in between the grille and radiator, with the dryer unit and lines tucked up under the front guard. Now, seeing we are not going for big power in this V8, I decided to fabricate manifolds for the exhaust instead of extractors. They flow into the stainless crossover pipe and into two rear mufflers which end just before the diff. There were a few rust holes in the guards that needed fixing, but I didn't want to patch it, so I devised a method for filling it. First, I cleaned as much rust from behind the hole, painted it, then filled the hole with a special epoxy glue that sets hard and can be sanded smooth. With 90% of the car now complete, it's time for wiring and off to get painted. Well, it's not really painting, more sealing it to preserve it for years to come. After that, it's the fun part, putting it all back together, getting it trimmed and on the road. This will be covered in the next and final video on this build. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to see when the next video is out. It's not that I couldn't fit it, it's just that I didn't want to fit it. It was actually, it is a prick of a job to do. Kind of like I can say prick.